I'm going to be speaking about desire, as Vesta represents the hearth of our desires in this transit through Scorpio. But first, let's remember what God says according to Proverbs 18:1. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. Now, this isn't isolation, in the sense of the number 9 hermit card, of course. However, what it does answer is that the South Node is now at Virgo, which represents the hermit card, but it's at the South Node. So what does this tell you? What it tells you is that we're coming out of the shadow of that attribute, the shadow of that characteristic. Number 9 hermit card is meant to reach you to the voice of God within self that redeems and restores and rebirths the self. Understand? But what happens when that goes too far into perversion, to where our isolation becomes a selfish, arrogant, or fearful reaction or impulse that we have that doesn't allow us to connect with others and doesn't allow us to share the gifts and the wealth that we obtain from the isolation and solitude that we allowed ourselves to process through. The solitude is a means to an end, okay? And the end of that means is rebirth, okay? Isis rebirths Osiris sitting on the lap, Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, okay? The rebirth of the Christ impulse in the self, the higher self, becoming the better version of self, which is the image and likeness of God. Understand? Christ. So once this has been accomplished, taking our desires and making selfish intent of it, now we're stepping into perversion. Your desires are not to be just for you. We didn't come to earth to isolate our desires just for ourselves. Because only thing that comes out of it is perversion and oppression, greed, troubles, more curses. That's not what we're here to do. Any good that we have, any blessing that we have, any fortune that we have, it is meant to be shared with others. It is meant to bless the world. It is meant to give your gift out to the world, not covet it to yourself. There is nothing that you obtain that is meant for you to just have it all to yourself. You are to share any good that you have. It doesn't mean that you exploit yourself, that you don't have boundaries, but we are meant to share all good things that we have in this life. This is the meaning to be fulfilled in Aquarius Pluto, because Aquarius is about the people, not just selfish self. Aquarius is about learning how not to be so important anymore. Learning how to stop being so damn important. We are important, not I am important. So this generation of desire is not meant for you to lust for ideals of what you're going to do by yourself, with yourself. You have to generate a desire that is authentic, and if it is authentic, it already comes with the impulse to share and give out into the world, which is why Saturn is cleaning up the 12th house in the first place, because that is where our cosmic gift of unconditional love is at. The highest frequency, the highest gift that we have is in the 12th house. And if you have a planet there, you will start out suffering from it. But once you get on the other side, which Saturn is going to accomplish for you, it is a gift that you give to the world. And it has the power to heal and redeem. Because it has the power of love, unconditional love, understanding, compassion, empathy. There is no greater frequency. We're talking about Pisces. Pisces is God, because it is the frequencies of color that comes together to culminate the frequency of white light and singularity, oneness. Understand? Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. So this speaks again, South Node Virgo. South Node Virgo. Number 9 Hermit. It's time to take what you gathered from the number 9 Hermit and give it out to the world, not covet it to the South, which is why it's at the South Node. Now it's time to go and be the prophet and messenger. Now it's time to go and share your light, to share your gift, to share your wisdom, to share your talent and experiences, to bless and gift others with it. North Node Pisces, this is to become a part of the frequencies that make the white light. You bring your red ray, they bring the green, the other brings the blue, and all together you are a singularity of the frequency of white light. That is Aquarius, through the attributes and expressions of Pisces. Look how Pisces is all things. It is all signs. It is all energies. It is all frequencies. Whoever isolates himself, seeks his own desire, he breaks out against all sound judgment. He breaks out against all sound judgment. We fall into perversion when we are not in contact, in touch with people of good reason and judgment. Understand. Vesta now enters Scorpio. Vesta will be retrograde in Scorpio halfway through. Vesta will complete Scorpio transit September, the first week of September, September 10th. This is when the outer planets usually go retrograde, and we get a review. Vesta transiting Scorpio. This deals with our desires as the focus, the focal point. As the axis between Scorpio and Taurus, the themes of the algorithm, Taurus being I have, the polarity of Scorpio, and Scorpio being I desire. Obviously, if you desire a thing, you are not present with that thing. So we are generating that which we want to be present with. We are generating the magnetism for that which we want to manifest, create, attract to ourselves, that which we want to exist with us or where we want to exist in ourselves. I desire. What do you desire? What do you desire? Your 8th house, as well as your Scorpio placement, this can give you a lot of insight into what it is that you eternally desire. Our desires generates the motive. You gotta have a motive. There has to be a motive. And the motive comes before the strategy. The motive comes before the strategy. And all of this is in Scorpio. What do you desire? That is going to become your motive. And it's the motive behind your ambitions, Scorpio. Your pursuits. The strategy that you come up with to make it a reality. So Vesta and Juno are there to bless you with a motive, to crystallize and set a motive. You're going to need that motive. When they get into Sagittarius, that is when you are going to be headlong into action, experimentation, trying the forces, trying the field. Speeding ahead. This is a time where the motive gets clarified. Book of Proverbs 13:12. Hope delayed makes a heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Understand? Hope delayed makes a heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. The fulfillment of our desires It will have to include some delays. It will have to include knowing that strategy has to take you there. Also knowing that delay is not denial. Delay does not mean denial. So we have to take our maturity with us. Only a spiritual context of this desire can be satisfied. If we attempt to use material to answer this longing, it's futile, and it will only lead to obsession, greed, and ruthlessness. So let's make sure that spiritual value and significance, insight, is behind what we are longing for. Checking in. So if you look at your Scorpio placement, according to your natal birth chart, you will find that that particular house is where your desires generate. The themes of that house. What you're also going to find is that the forces, the impulses, which through planets and aspects in that particular house where you have Scorpio, those are the impulses that are there to assist you with that which you desire. What we desire, we are looking into the future for something that we want to catch up to as an experience. Desire has to go with a vision. Desire also has to include our identity so that we're decisive about what we're bringing in and pursuing. The 8th house characterizes our Scorpio algorithm of ourself. It characterizes it. That's why you have a particular sign at the 8th house. And that's what characterizes your Scorpio instinct. That is the area of your life where Scorpio disposition rules how you relate to that reality of the 8th house. As far as Scorpio placement in and of itself, this area of your life, first house, second house, third house, fifth house, whatever house it is, this is where you go to transform. This is where you go and retreat to regenerate after betrayal. Matters of distrust, processing pain and disillusionment. This is where you go to heal. This is where you go to transform, to dress your wounds. This is where you go to treat your battle scars. This is where you go to make strategy. This is where you go to put the plan together. If you have Scorpio in a placement such as, for example, in the 4th house, you go inside of yourself for that. You go in privacy, in private chambers of your home. You retreat. You close the shades. You darken the lights. You go into the lion's den and you recover. If, for example, it is at the 7th house, in your relationships, you seek refuge in the counsel, the advice, the deep connections with others to generate the courage and resilience to transform yourself after moments of disillusionment. So depending on what house you have Scorpio, we have our Scorpio algorithm in different realities. Now, Scorpio Vesta transit, being that Scorpio's entering Vesta, with Vesta, we have to bring to mind, picture, for example, a fireplace. This is the best way to understand Vesta, a fireplace. Okay? Vesta is the eternal flame. The eternal flame. And one of the things that Vesta represents is Hearth. It is Hearth. What is the hearth? The hearth is the floor of the fireplace, the tiles of the fireplace that picks up and absorbs heat from the fire, kinetic energy, heat from the fire. That heat and radiation from the fire, it causes that floor, which is called the hearth, the base of the fireplace or furnace that extends out into the living space, the square right before the fireplace on the floor. If you look at this picture, the pots, the ladles are sitting on the hearth before the fire. That is Vesta. It characterizes all of these elements. The fire itself that burns the force of your sexuality into a concentration of virtue, a concentration of virtue. And before it is the hearth, which is a warmth that it generates. And the warmth and heat that generates is your sexual energy. The sexual energy which comes from Virgo and Scorpio, these two algorithms, it provides heat that is available for the ladle to be warmed. Now, what do the ladles represent? The ladles represent the sign that it is in or the planet that it affects. Okay? So if you look at the ladles or the pots that's before the fire at the hearth, which is the floor of that furnace or fireplace, it gives warmth to the ladles. So let's assume that the ladle, for example, is a particular zodiac sign, such as Scorpio, Taurus, Libra, whatever the case. It is these would represent the signs. It's warming that sign up. It's warming that house up. So let's say one of these ladles, if you look at the picture, represents the house. It's warming up that house of your life. Let's say one of the ladles represents the sign. It's in Scorpio right now. One of those is Scorpio. It's heating up the Scorpio algorithm and trait of the self. Let's say there's a planet or impulse in Scorpio 8th house. So it's heating up that attribute or impulse as well. It's heating up. It's giving kinetic energy from your sexual energy to those themes. And as it's transferring heat or warmth to these attributes, it awakens inside of you. And it takes precedence over your mind, your heart, and the sexual energy that moves through the vitality of your veins that you can repurpose for productive means. Understand? So this is what Vesta is doing when it enters a sign or a house. It starts heating up those ladles of the house, which is the attributes of the house, which includes also the planets that are there or aspects. Understand? So our Scorpio attribute is being heated up. It's catching heat from the fire of Vesta. As this heats up, it intensifies our desire. Okay? Again, it's heating up the attributes of the sign that it's in. What attributes of Scorpio is being heated up? Desire, ambition, resilience, courage, strategy, trust. And as it intensifies, you are going to say, I want to afford more trust to myself. I want to afford more trust to others as this fire intensifies. What's possible if I could just trust myself more? What's possible if I could just trust other people more than I have? What's possible if I could learn to accept a little more truth into myself? What's possible if I could learn to accept a little more truth from others in the feedback that I get without getting offended? What is possible of my desires? What can I really attain or obtain with what I have, with who I am, with what's at my disposal? What ways do I need to transform and change myself so that I can achieve my goals? Have I accepted disillusionment yet? To where if I surrender to what the truth, the facts, the reality is, maybe I can transform. Is God presenting to me the initiative to transform and I'm resisting it? Vesta is heating the hearth of our desires. It's reawakening our desires. When our desires are cold, we're just going through the routine, the day-to-day, doing everything that doesn't necessarily speak to our instincts or our identity, but in survival mode. But what about your desires? What you really long for? It's going to get clearer and clearer and clearer what that really is. It's going to take you over. It's going to set you on fire with desire that is directly tied to your own instincts, directly tied to your understanding of yourself at the most truthful core of the self through Mars, identity, first house, Aries, co-ruling Scorpio. Because of Vesta, we are going a virtuous route in how we answer this. Vesta insists on virtue. It also insists on the inclusion of the ideal of family, togetherness, collectivism, piety, purity, sincerity, virtue, all things that are good of family and community. It also represents the purity and piety of women. So we can expect that piety will be a new desire that burns out of women. I want to be pure. I want to be pious. I want to be modest. I care about my reputation. I care about my image, and I want to change what I have been doing so that my image can survive. Between now and September, we are going to prioritize our personal desires. And because Vesta is there and Juno also, we will not give up on it. Juno is giving us a monogamous commitment, a monogamous devotion to Scorpio algorithm. And Vesta is there as well. There couldn't be a greater bond of commitment and devotion to the constitution of self. The constitution of self. Scorpio represents the constitution of self. Through sparking and setting on fire the deepest desire of self, we are heating up and kindling the fire that's going to burn our desire to get up and get physical, kinetic, and active, ambitious about bringing in a new reality that gives us a sense of satisfaction, joy, and fulfillment, and especially legacy. Scorpio deals with matters of legacy as well. Scorpio is deep and not superficial. This is Phoenix attributes of Scorpio that are coming into play. Rising from the ashes. Set on divine fire and rising from the ashes. This is a time where we are going to rise from the ashes and be exactly who we were destined to be. You want to look at your water placements because Vesta is certainly going to have effect to your water placements. Your water triangle is going to be quite active. Remember that Mars is still retrograding through through Cancer. Mars will be retrograding through Cancer. Saturn and the North Node at Pisces. Vesta and Juno at Scorpio. So there's a grand water trine. These are points of salvation, redeeming the self, restoring the self, atoning for self-betrayal. This is our attempt to make atonement. I know that in the past timeline, I was all the way over there. I was upside down. I didn't know the back of my head from the front of my head. But here I am, and I'm going to atone for all of that incorrectness. I'm going to atone for the years of loss. I'm ready to correct and become. This is that time that this takes place. Look at the grace that we have as Mars backtracks into Cancer, righteous anger. But at the same time, in Pisces, we have Venus giving us grace. Venus is there to pull off of Pisces, to instill the astral body, which is our connections with others. We connect through the astral body with others, giving us grace, harmony, a will for grace, a will for harmony. Forgiveness, compassion, understanding, unity, all of the positive attributes of Pisces as Venus is exalted in Pisces. That is favor that is being given as a buffer, a mercy, an uphill road to the crisis that we were already at the first time that Mars passed through Cancer. Sensitive conversations, arguments, righteous anger. Seeing how set on fire that I am about my situation and my pain, my frustration, but I failed to see your pain and your frustration. This time around it will be different because Venus through Pisces is going to make sure that we approach the matter or re-approach the matter through this retrograde with understanding, with compassion, with a will to want to unite. Vesta at Scorpio is saying, I want to trust this time around. I can afford to trust. Understand? I can handle anything. Juno and Vesta together at Scorpio, there's nothing that I can't handle. If something catches me off guard, no matter how dark it is, I have the resilience to stand up to it. I can deal with it. I can take it. I won't get offended. Nothing will surprise me. I'm not offended. So right now, understanding is about to be born. All water points are active. This means salvation is coming down. Salvation is pouring in. Healing is pouring in. When the water is purified, all things become pure. Our thoughts, our words, our actions, our intentions, our relationships, everything becomes healed and purified. This is a wonderful time. Heating the hearth of our desires, we want to pay attention to what our desire is reading to us. What is it saying? Being true to what you desire, what you really want. Being clear about it. as an authentic person, after learning how to deal through the Chiron Aries transit, Chiron Aries is now direct, I can handle rejection. I can handle abandonment. I no longer take rejection personal. I no longer take abandonment personal. It's okay if somebody wants to walk away. It's okay if somebody doesn't like me for being who I really am. I accept it and I'm not offended. This is where we're supposed to be at. Let bygones be bygones. Because when we're no longer offended, we can understand. We can alchemize. Different elements can now collaborate because there's no offense. How much more can we accomplish with that state of mind? How much more successful can we be? Because we're not coming together to offend each other, nor do we feel offended. Mars working its way back through Cancer, going backwards through Cancer. We're going to revisit all of those sensitive points. The domestic disputes, the arguments, the places where we didn't get along, the frustration, the popping off out of righteous anger. I know I'm right. There's no way I could be wrong. We're going to revisit it. And Venus is right over there in Pisces, giving us grace, giving us the Christ impulse as the attitude to go forward with. Seeing through love. Pisces, love, understanding, compassion, empathy. Now, seeking desires in isolation could lead to unhealthy experiences, circumstances, outcomes. It can lead to perversion. There has to be the inclusion of others for advice, for insight, for foresight. Someone who helps us to stand between us and our desires at time to make sure that integrity is there, so that virtue is not betrayed, so our values are not betrayed. Because we don't want a repeat of the world that we just came out of corruption and evil doing, lack of conscience. It's a wonderful thing to rekindle the desire, to set on fire the desire. But desire is not the ultimate thing. It is part of the motive. There's something that you want to feel. There's something that you want to experience. And we have to home it in through our good nature. And a value that could be shared with the clan, a value that could be shared with the family, a value that could be shared as a legacy, not a selfish aim. Because there is no joy in selfish aims, just greed. What joy is it to experience a wonderful experience and there's no one to share it with? A great food, a great scenery, and you have no one to share it with, to talk about it, to glorify it, to lift it up. It's futile. We are meant to share that which is good. And Vesta includes the interests of the family and community. Juno includes the interests of relationships. So let's not forget that in a generation of our desires. What do I want to experience with others or through others? What do I desire with others or through others as well? What can we collaborate to manifest as an experience that I really want to be a part of? Now purpose comes into play, Aquarius. a service that is bigger than us, a cause that is greater than us, a project that fulfills all of our desires and needs, to experience ourselves as living a fulfilling life. Purposeful. Understand. Now, as far as desires in real time, let's look at Mars and Pluto. Where's Mars and Pluto at? Now, look how this works. You got Mars at Cancer in retrograde, okay? I desire, Scorpio, Lord, one of the lords of Scorpio, okay? Mars, ancient lord of Scorpio, Mars. I desire to reconcile generational curses, Cancer. I desire to, right, restore culture, Cancer. I desire to create emotional and domestic security for myself and others. I desire, okay, to advocate for myself and others. I desire to give security to women and children, to the defenseless, to the meek. I desire a culture that makes sense to my instincts, that includes the needs and demands of my instincts. So see how that works. And because it's in retrograde as this is generating, it includes a spirit of atonement. I desire to make atonement in the areas of my domestic experience, my inner child, my family and loved ones, and the culture that I used to identify with. I desire to atone for these things by correcting and improving these things. Understand? Now, if we look at Pluto and desire, okay? First degree Aquarius. I desire to initiate a service, a project, collaboration, an organization that brings unique and significant solutions to the society. I want to be a part of the solution for the people. So this is what's included in desire because the lords of Scorpio says so. Understand? As far as the hearth of our desires, the kindling of this fire, our desires are going to take precedence over all things. Juno insists on that as well. And what Juno does is it has us to utilize our relationships to accomplish those desires, since desire is the context of Scorpio. Juno will also have us to utilize our relationships toward transformation. Surrounding ourselves with or being in contact with individuals who can help us to transform ourselves, to make our desires a reality through Juno. This brings integrity into the relationship dynamic to where you are together for this particular purpose. And that's the only thing that you could see, not your sexual desires. That's what Juno accomplishes. To appropriate and make purposeful your relationship interactions. Scorpio has a heavy pull on us at this time, and it will be until the outer planets go retrograde in the fall season. As long as Saturn is going direct motion, we got to get it. It's time to get up and get it. Hit the floor running. Because Saturn rules time, the time continuum. When Saturn goes retrograde, that is when we review. That's when we step back. That's when we go over and reflect. In the fall. Understand? But right now, we're just heating up the furnace of the desires. So these downloads are going to come, and it's going to come through what? Scorpio, the instincts, because Scorpio relates to the instincts. Always differentiate between instincts and intuition, okay? Intuition goes with Cancer. Instincts goes with Scorpio. Clairvoyance goes with Pisces. These are the three different conscious forces that we have, okay? Instincts through Scorpio, intuition through Cancer, and clairvoyance through Pisces. Understand. Do not forget. Do not misconflate. Do not misunderstand one for the other. So with desire generating and heating up, is going to come through our instincts. Okay? Trust your instincts. Listen to your instincts. Who carries your instincts also? Mars carries your instincts. Mars carries your instinct. Where is Mars at? It's in Cancer. And this combines your instincts and your intuition. So we're firing on all cylinders. Where is Venus at? In Pisces. Incorporating your clairvoyance into the astral body. This involves Neptune as well as Jupiter. That's in retrograde at Gemini. So there's a lot that we're going to come to understand as a result of this. Understanding is being born. And when there's understanding, there's compassion and love. There's peace, there's healing, there's accomplishment. And with that, all of our works are blessed. So there could be questions. Ask your questions in the comment section if you have questions. If it's, not overly detailed, I most certainly will answer it, to the best of my ability. If you need readings on what this means for you personally, of course, my website is right at the bottom of the image that you see, www.theinfamousastrologist.com.